You will recall that only economic consequences of NATO aggression have been assessed up to $120 billion. And it is pity, really, that after the aggression, they found ways to impose governments all over the Balkan, in Belgrade included, to suit their interests, to obey orders, and to care much more for the interest of aggressing countries than for the interests of their own countries and peoples. So these problems of instability, underdevelopment is going to be our reality rather long in the future. There are unresolved other issues. The greatest problem is here that the status of the Serbian province of Kosovo and Metohija has not been resolved. You know that in 2008, Pristina has unilaterally and illegally proclaimed secession, that this secession has been recognized, first of all, by NATO countries, and the strongest ones. I can say that we take note, Greece, Cyprus, Romania, Spain, and some other countries have not followed a suit and have not up to now recognized Kosovo. We think it is partly because of their friendship to Serbia, but it is also partly because of their own interests. Nobody would like to have precedent of secession, unilateral illegal secession, because this is not really something that it is needed. So secession of Kosovo and Metohija has renewed plans for forming Greater Albania in the Balkans. And week after week we are hearing from Pristina, from Tirana, thesis that Albanians have a right to have their natural state, meaning that they want to create a great Albania. This ambition, this plan, reaches only mild reactions from the West, primarily from United States, Germany, and the others. So we can take really that Western powers are not really preventing this idea. They are, by their mild reaction, they are actually encouraging the creation of Great Albania. This, in turn, affects not only the interests of Serbia, but affects the interests of Montenegro, of Skopje, of Greece, and practically the whole of region. So, to make it shorter, I would like to say that secession of Kosovo and Metohija is additional source of destabilization of the Balkans and destabilization of Europe, in fact. Now we can only presume who would have interest that Balkan is unstable, who would have the interest that Europe should have prolonged serious problems. You might have read a recently published book of French author Pierre Péan. The book is titled just war for mafia states. This title really sublimizes and expresses the real nature of NATO aggression and their consequences. So, having regard to all this, Belgrade Forum for the World of Equals, and together with a number of independent associations of Serbia within the framework of World Peace Council, prepares to mark 15th anniversary of NATO aggression, 21st to 24th March next year. There will be various activities like opening of the exhibition about consequences of NATO aggression, having also review of documentary films on NATO aggression. We will have also a memorial marathon from Belgrade to Šilandar on Athos. We will visit many places and many monuments devoted to killed civilians and defenders of Serbia, but the central event of marking the 15th anniversary of NATO aggression will be international conference, which will be held from 22nd to 23rd March 2014 in the Belgrade Sava Center. We expect over 1,000 people to gather at the conference, and we expect within that number about 200 prominent guests from all over the world. We have already sent our invitations to foreign friends, and up to now we have positive answers from about 70 prominent intellectuals from Europe, America, South America, Africa, and Asia. We are still to send our invitations and new information about preparations for this event, which will reinforce the interest for the conference. Our conference will be held, like all the other events, under the common title, Not to Forget. We have to be serious and to keep memory on about 4,000 killed citizens of Serbia, 8,000 seriously wounded. We have to keep memory on destructions of schools, hospitals, kindergartens, hospitals, and cultural monuments. We especially have a reason to remind those who are responsible for the aggression, but remind also the world public that NATO has used during the aggression missiles with depleted uranium. The weight is assessed to over 15 tons of deadly weapons, which continue to provoke deaths and even deformations with newly born babies, even today. Just yesterday, a Belgrade newspaper had a huge article envisaging that 2014 will be the year which will have massive deaths as consequence of depleted uranium used 15 years ago. This is very sad that we don't have reactions either from Belgrade nor from other parts of Europe to demand responsibility for use of depleted uranium. This is actually using nuclear weapons in 20th century, at the end of 20th century, against a country which did not pose any threat to anybody. And we are astonished by what I say, uranium silence. Belgrade is silent about this. I think there are more reactions against responsible in Italy, in Spain, in Strasbourg, and some European institutions than in the institutions of Belgrade. And it is like all the rest in Europe have suffered more about use of depleted uranium than Serbia itself. So the theme of our conference next year, next March, will be global peace or global interventionism. And we will be working in several panels in 2 days to consider all real causes for the aggression, consequences in many directions, consequences against Serbia, consequences for the Balkan, and then for Europe and the whole world, consequences for the international, for world order. Because, as you yesterday said at the Assembly of Belgrade Forum, this was precedent which continued to be used in many aggressions which followed NATO aggression against Serbia. So we welcome your goodwill that today we see how the best way to organize these events, and especially the conference, and how to get the best results of our common efforts.
Thank you. Dear friend and comrade Živadin, we share fully, we coincide in all what you have said by welcoming us and by giving the forecast for the common actions and the common struggle we are carrying out, and in particular the conference next year, 15 years after the NATO aggression against the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia and Serbia in particular. And I want to add only one element regarding the Kosovo and Metohija, the Serbian Kosovo and Metohija, which is even by the UN resolutions recognized as Serbian soil and Serbian territory, apart from the history and the general acceptance by all in the region that this was always Serbia, that Kosovo is being used not only as a protectorate, but also as a huge military basis for Camp Bondsteel of NATO, of the United States of America, from where it is operating later on after 1999, aggressions and coordination of operations against the Balkan peoples and against peoples in the Central Asia and Middle East. It is a basis which has not been installed temporarily or for some years. The amount of money invested and installations and facilities shows that this is a place they wanted to come to install, to deploy themselves in order to stay there for long. This shows also the hypocrisy and the double moral when they speak about human rights violations and the other pretexts, false pretexts in order to come. Their real goal was to come and to be in a strategically important place in the Balkans. At the same time, the consequences of the split of the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia are visible also in other corners of Yugoslavia. Take the example of the use of Croatia, of Zagreb airport, where they were concentrating for months and months, the last years, tons, more than 50 tons of weapons, of old weapons and other military equipment, and sent by airplanes to Jordan, to Amman, and from there to infiltrate into Syria for the so-called opposition troops, for forces which are subversive and terrorist groups, mercenary armed groups from all over the region and from more than 60 countries, with the support of Turkey, of the United States and the Gulf monarchies, against the elected government of Syria and the Syrian people. This means the crisis in the Balkans and the results in the Yugoslavia, the split off of Yugoslavia and the creation of the protectorate in Kosovo, all this is directly related also to the situation today in the Middle East. And we'll do our level best from World Peace Council side to highlight the relation of these aspects and how they are linked together under the global imperialist domination.
Yeah, actually, good point that you have made. Bonstil, American military base in Kosovo and Metohija, has been first in the chain of military bases established after 1999 in the Balkans and in Europe. We recall that Bonstil was established in 1999, and immediately after four new military American bases were established in Bulgaria, and another 4 military bases established in Romania. And they have also established military bases in Albania. They have bases in Tuzla in Bosnia and Herzegovina. They have established facilities for NATO Navy in Croatian ports. And so we can say that after NATO aggression against Serbia, against Yugoslavia, we had a mushrooming of foreign military bases in the Balkans and all over the Europe. So we are in a paradoxical situation today when you have only one so-called democratic system of free market and multi-party parliamentary democracy from Vladivostok to Reykjavik. You have today no confronted military blocs, you have no confronted ideologies, but you still have today many more American foreign military bases on European soil than when the Cold War was at its highest spot. So the real question is, what is the reason of mushrooming military bases in the Balkan and Europe? What is behind militarization of Europe today, so long after the Berlin Wall has fallen? There are some interpretations that this is because of defense against terrorism. But I wonder if intercontinental ballistic rockets really serve the purpose of struggling against international terrorism, or perhaps they have some other aims and objectives which are in its essence imperialistic aims and ambitions. The NATO aggression against Yugoslavia in 1999 could not be explained without global context. It was not really the war with local or regional aims. It was the war with global strategic aims. Because finally, NATO is not a local force and is not only one of many. It is the largest military organization in the history of civilization. So what would be the aim of attacking a small European country like Yugoslavia at the time, Serbia and Montenegro, if it was not for strategic geopolitical reasons? And now, this point I made recently at one international conference in Switzerland. There was beside me sitting an American friend, and he said, okay, Mr. Jovanović, you said that NATO aggression in 1999 was not with local objectives. You said it was because of geostrategic, but you did not specify what would be strategic aims. Now, well, we all see and we know very clearly it was a foothold for attacking Caspian Basin, for attacking Caucasus area, for
energy
resources, Middle East, and I said semi-jokingly, maybe NATO has some ambition towards Siberia, I said. I'm not quite sure, but it was a good opportunity to clarify for a huge audience, most of friendly people who simply were not informed about this. They really thought there were some humanitarian aspects and humanitarian reasons. But the whole operation, the whole aggression was based on lies and to cover up these strategic reasons. So this is why our conference next year has a global meaning, really. We should see it in this wider context. This is what NATO aggression against Yugoslavia in 1999 makes a global event. I might sound exaggerating, but I take NATO aggression in 1999 as a turning point in the world relations, as the beginning of chain of military interventions and military aggressions.
Now, the first aggression out of the radius of NATO.
Exactly.
And the new doctrine adopted during the aggression in the Washington summit. So it is precise what you're saying.
Exactly, because they violated own founding act from 1949. But they violated UN Charter, they violated basic international principles, basic principles of international law, many conventions and so on. And to convince their public that it was necessary, they produced so many lies. They produced one of the staged events was Rambouillet talks. Rambouillet negotiations. There were no negotiations in Rambouillet whatsoever. The other people may remember Racak case and accusation of massive killing of Albanian civilians. They also invented in Germany so-called plan of horseshoe plan. All has been fabrications and uncovered as mere lies. And imagine humanitarian intervention which leaves 4,000 killed people, two-thirds of these being civilians, including children, including old, including babies, including sick people in the hospitals and so on and so forth. Imagine humanitarian consequences with a humanitarian intervention using nuclear armament, as really we should name depleted uranium. So I think you would agree. The real question that bothers me is what stage of European Western civilization we are living now. What what happened with civilization values? Is civilization value construction of lies? Is a civilization value misleading own public in democratically established societies and so on? I think it is not something that bothers me, but I see that more and more intellectual scientists and wise people in the West start understanding the criminal character of NATO aggression. It was precedent. It was followed by attacking of Afghanistan in 2001, by aggression on Iraq 2003, by aggression on Libya, aggression on Mali, now intervention, we can say, in Syria, because interventions are not only these open interventions.
No, of course.
These clandestine operations may be even provoking more deaths and suffering than military attack. So I think that our conference will be very important and will draw wide attention on international scene, and in that context we see the particular role of World Peace Council and yourself personally to help us to explain real importance and real meaning of marking the 15th anniversary of NATO aggression. We are not celebrating aggression, we are remembering crimes, we are remembering killed people, we are remembering killing international law and killing basic principles. So now, 15 years ago, I think we are close to see global changes in the world. I think that peace movements are getting stronger today because the environment is not the same as in 1999. The feelings and knowledge, experiences of people, of publics, even in the West, are different today than in 1999. So the space for production of lies to justify imperial wars of conquest, is much narrower today. This gives opportunity to Peace Council and to Belgrade Forum, to all other peace-loving forces and organizations to be on the offensive, really. It is clear that the world does not accept imperial ambitions. It is clear today that global distribution of power is not the same as in 1999. So this is opening the space for all of us, and Belgrade Conference should be serving this purpose.
We fully agree. Next year, when NATO is marking 65 years of its war driving and the war concept from the beginning, it is coinciding with the 15 years of major aggression in the history of NATO and of humankind. And we shall put this conference organized by the Belgrade Forum for the World of Equals as an important key event in the 2014 in the global campaign of World Peace Council against NATO for the dissolution of NATO and for the struggle in each and every member state to withdraw from NATO.
Good. I can assure you that the Belgrade Forum will do everything to make these events and particularly international conference full success. It is a pleasure to inform you, Comrade Tsavdaridis, that we have already many prominent personalities from Canada, United States, Brazil, Argentina, then China, Russia, India, Germany, Belarus, Ukraine, Italy already confirmed participation. And we have also established an honorary advisory council for the conference, which will be composed of the most prominent intellectuals on the planet today. I, for instance, can tell you that Emir Kusturica, a renowned filmmaker and intellectual in Serbia, has accepted to be the member. Then we have Professor and General Ivashov from Russia, who has accepted. Our great friend from Brazil, Socorro Gomes, she has also accepted to be member. We expect replies from some prominent personalities like Peter Hanke, whom we have written to accept membership. And we would love also you to see whom from brotherly Greece can be proposed to be there. I can assure you, whoever you propose will be in a very nice, very respectable group of people. We are all linked with one idea: to be useful to peace, stability, and progress.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Okay.